Well, welcome again to the Combin kitchen, and today we're doing yet another fish dish because after all we are fishermen, and what we're going to do is a Pollack Curry because that's the fish we have, pollock. But before that, what I'm going to show you is how to do some fragrant rice to go with that dish. Okay, so the first thing we've done is we've got some basmati rice here, and what we've done is we've soaked that for half an hour in just normal cold water. And what that does is cleans a bit of the starch off the rice, but it also allows the rice to take in a little bit of that water. And what that does is it makes it a little bit more fluffy when it's been cooked. This is our ingredients to flavour that rice. We have a medium onion, a cinnamon stick, we have 4 cardamom pods, salt and pepper, and picked off the tree, fresh, some lovely bay leaves. Okay, what we've done is we've diced that onion nice and small. That's gone into about a teaspoon of just vegetable oil. And we're just going to sweat that down just so it softens a little bit. In the meantime, we've got some vegetable stock in there going, and that's what we're going to cook our rice in. And when that onion has sweated down a little bit, gone a little bit translucent, we shall add our rice, and we'll coat the rice with that little bit of oil and onion in there. To that, we're going to add that rice that we soaked earlier. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move this around, let the oil cover the rice. We now added our pre-soaked rice. And we're just going to make sure that all the rice gets coated with a little bit of vegetable oil and the onion. Here we have our vegetable stock. Now you can use chicken stock, but I find vegetable stock's absolutely fine for this. We have our vegetable stock there, just turn that heat up a touch, just on the boil. What we're going to do, we're going to put the rice in the vegetable stock. We're going to add our cardamom pods and cinnamon stick and bay leaves. We're going to bring that to the boil, give it maybe, turn it down, the heat down, give it maybe 10 minutes, and then turn the heat off, but leave a nice tight fitting lid on. And that should then soak all that moisture up into that rice. Don't move it, don't stir it, because that will make it sticky. We don't want it sticky, we want it fluffy. Once you leave that for the 10 minutes after you've turned it off, that should be absolutely fine. And that gives you time then to get on with the curry. Of course, give your rice a little bit of seasoning. Salt and pepper. That's almost done. That water is boiling. I say water, of course it's the vegetable stock. Now we don't want to burn this rice. You can just see some of it's just starting to catch there. That's enough. You don't want to burn it, so that's ready to go in the stock with the other ingredients. Rice is in that vegetable stock. Going to add our bay leaves, a couple of them, the cardamom pods, 4, and the cinnamon stick. What we're going to do now, simply tight fitting lid, give that 10 minutes on boil, not hot boil, just a gentle rolling boil. Turn it out, leave it for say another maybe 5-6 minutes, and that'll be perfect. You'll see that in a minute. Okay, onto our fish curry. Now, again, if you really want outrageous dishes, then this really isn't the place. This is just a normal kitchen with stuff in our cupboards. Half the time we're winging it. We do know how to cook, don't get me wrong, you know, we're not sort of awful here. We do know how to cook dishes, but we try to keep it pretty simple and maybe a step up from a jar in a pot, you know. And remember, not everyone can cook. You know, take our cameraman for example. The other day he said to me, "Do you want an omelette?" I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Do you want an egg in it?" Truly, some people do not know how to cook. So we're trying to keep it simple. What we've got here, 3 cloves of garlic, small piece of fresh ginger, we've got some fenugreek, garam masala, we've got some very hot chili flakes. Now you could use fresh ingredients, we don't have to have them at the moment. Now these chilies were grown by myself and they are rather potent, so we've not put a lot in there, but that's enough. And finally there we've got a bit of cumin. The dry ingredients are going to go into a frying pan, no oil in it, not overly hot, but we're just going to toast it for maybe a minute, and I'll tell you what, that releases the flavours a little bit better. We're going to then mash the ginger and the garlic together. I just use a fork for that really, but I do want that, maybe a bit of sea salt on that to help it, but I'm going to mash that down as well. When I've toasted the dry ingredients for about a minute, I shall add those. I shall also add a tomato, now de-seeded and de-skinned. In fact, I'll show you a little tip on that as well in a second or so. And we're going to heat all that up just for maybe a minute or two. A little bit of maybe black pepper in there as well to add to it. And we'll add a couple of other ingredients. We'll show you those as we go along. Simple way to skin a tomato. There you go, lovely big tomato there. Small cross in the bottom. Doesn't have to be a big. Into a bowl with boiling water. Just cover it. Now maybe that tomato, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and what'll happen is you'll just possibly see that skin starting to lift. And what we'll do after that time, we'll take that tomato out, put some cold water straight on it because it'll be too hot to handle clearly, and we'll peel it, and that skin should come off very, very easily. Okay, there's the tomato, about maybe a minute in there because it's a big tomato. Look at that. There's your skin. Could not be a simpler way of peeling the skin off of a tomato. Now what I would say is do not leave the tomato in the water too long because it doesn't give it a nice texture then otherwise. You want this tomato really as a fresh tomato, you don't want to cook it in that water, you don't want to boil it, it gives it a real pithy, not very pleasant texture. I'm going to de-seed that in a minute. Cut it into quarters, just get those seeds straight out, easy. What I've done there, right under my nose, and it smells absolutely divine. That's the garlic and the ginger mashed up. Of course you can use a pestle and mortar. If I had one, I'd use it. I did have one, dropped it and broke it. Used a fork and a little bit of sea salt in there just to help with it. That's fine, but you do want it pretty much, as you can hear, nothing breaking up there. You don't want big lumps of this. You want it as near to a paste as you can get. Okay, basically what I'm doing here, I'm just taking those seeds out of that tomato. Some people like seeds, some people don't. You do find, a couple's going to be okay. You do find it ruins the look of a dish sometimes if you've got all those seeds in, and occasionally the seeds can be a little bit sharper, let's say. And one thing I will say with curries, you've got to balance the flavours right. You know, if you get too much acidity in them, I don't think it's a good thing. Obviously, some people like a lot of heat. I mean, nothing's a question of taste more than food, is it? So, obviously, put in the amounts that you think that you like. So, if you like it very hot, put a lot of chilli in. You know, if you like it a little milder, which actually is how I like it, I should be toning it down with a bit of cream coconut in a minute. Right. Let's get our garlic and ginger into those dry mixes, which have had about a minute on the heat just to release the flavours, and we'll give that a little bit of a flash up. There's our garlic, ginger, the tomato. Now I'm just going to give that a little move around. What will happen is the moisture will come out of that tomato. It looks a bit dry at the moment, but the moisture will come out of that tomato. This is not going to be a load of sauce curry. There'll be a nice bit of sauce, but it's not going to be like a very wet curry. I'm just going to give that a couple of minutes. Here's our rice done, as I say. Look at that, beautiful. Now what I will be doing, I'll be taking out the cardamom pods, that's why I left them on the top, the bay leaves and the cinnamon stick, because obviously you do not want people eating a whole cardamom pod or a whole bay leaf. These were in here purely to flavour the rice, which they will have done. Quite pungent flavours these, but they go very, very well with that rice. Now what will happen is when I serve that rice in a moment, that will be lovely and fluffy and all separated. Okay, as you've seen, we've let our tomatoes now, the moisture run off a bit. Also, we've cooked out that garlic and ginger a bit because there's nothing worse than raw garlic or ginger, it's too harsh. So we've cooked that out a bit. As you can see, they're very, very dry. We do need to add some moisture. This comes in the form of some stock. Now you can use fish stock, of course, but you can use vegetable or chicken stock for that matter. You can actually use those two. They're not overly potent in their flavours, and they won't mask the actual flavour of the curry spices that we've put in there. Now, as you can see, it's just breaking down those spices that are still packed together. We do want to break those down because again, what you don't want is a big lump of that in your mouth. So I'll just make sure that that's all broken down. I can make a bit more stock than that. And what we'll do when this gets to just before, we don't want it boiling, but we want it just prior to that, we'll add our fish and we'll just cook our fish off in there. Lovely. Now also, I like onions, I love onions. I've slowly sweated off some rough chopped onion there, and by slowly doing it, and I mean very slowly over a period of probably 15 or so minutes, it just allows the sugars, the natural sugars in that onion to come out, and they're lovely and sweet, caramelised, beautiful. And I'll add that to our dish at the end. There's our lovely curry sauce there, just starting to bubble there, I don't want it boiling. To that, we add our fish. There goes our pollock. Now it will not take long to cook. Now this pollock could be a little bit whiter. If you catch your pollock and you trim the gills, it will bleed in, it will make the fillets a bit whiter. For this dish it won't matter, of course, because the curry will colour it. But if you cut the gills of your pollock when you catch them, just make those fillets, won't make them taste particularly different, but it will make them nice and white. Now the fish, when you put it in, it drops that temperature of that sauce down. It's been in there maybe 2-3 minutes, and you can see the temperature coming back up. This is the time now I'm going to put some coconut in. This is cream coconut. You can put in coconut milk, which is the same thing. Now what I'll do, this will thicken it up, and it will also cool it down slightly. And obviously cream coconut will make it a little creamier tasting as well. And what I'll do, I don't want to move this around too much, a little bit more, because I do quite like a coconut in my curry. Probably will do me now. Now it's going to have to be stirred, but do it gently, because you don't want to break that fish down. What will happen is that coconut will dissolve in there, and it will also thicken that sauce up. Now obviously cream coconut will dissolve a lot quicker, but as you can see from there, it doesn't take a lot of heat to melt that cream coconut down. But you do want it, again, all melted. Now by the time that cream coconut is melted, that fish will not be far off being cooked. I just want to turn those fillets, well not fillets, chunks of fish over. Now that, probably another 4 minutes, and that will be ready to serve. Okay, that fish has had about 3 minutes. Last thing I'm going to do is just put those rough chopped onions in. A gentle move about. I don't want to break this fish up. I do want those pieces of fish to be whole when it's served. And that really is not far away from being served. Okay, we've put our rice out there. We're just about to add our Pollack Curry. And what I'm going to do, as I say, it's not an overly wet curry, but I'm going to put a bit more sauce with that. What you can do, of course, as well, is if you've got some fresh coriander, we don't have any, but if you have some fresh coriander, you can just chop a bit, put it over that, and it just lifts it, gives it a much pleasanter look. And there you have it. Pollack curry with fragrant rice.